Hello and welcome to Fernbank Science Center's The Sky This Week for June 6th through 12th, 2021. We begin the week with an old crescent moon in the early morning sky, end it with a new one or a thin crescent at the end of the week in the evening sky, and on Wednesday the 10th, there's an annular eclipse of the sun. Starting on Sunday, June 6th, early in the morning, 5:20 a.m. If you're up and the sky is clear, that old moon I was talking about, the little thin crescent, is visible toward the eastern part of the sky. Those bright planets, Jupiter and Saturn, are high toward the south by that time of morning, and they're pretty bright, easy to find, look like bright stars. The moon on the 6th is rising. It's just a little thin crescent rising just before the sun does. And that little tiny cluster of stars looks like a teeny little dipper, the Pleiades. It's about a fingerprint across the sky, not very large. And it's just rising before the sun does. Watch over the next few weeks. You'll be able to see that higher in the sky each morning. On the 8th, look toward the north part of the sky. If you know which way the sun rises, that's east. If you point your nose toward the east, north is going to be on your left shoulder. And at the top of the sky, really high in the sky, is the pattern we call the Big Dipper. It's part of the Big Bear, Ursa Major, 4 stars for a cup shape, long handle of 3 stars. That's handy to find that marker. If you follow those 2 pointer stars, they lead you to Polaris, the North Star. It's on the end of the handle of the Little Dipper, a much smaller pattern, much harder to find. You need a good dark sky to find that one. Zoom in a little bit and look at the 2 of them. 4 stars for the bowl, 3 more for the handle on the Big Dipper. Follow the pointers to Polaris. And there's the curve of the Little Dipper's handle. Kind of looks bent sideways. The 2 stars that are pointers, Merak and Dubhe, are the 2 pointer stars that show us the way to Polaris. So if you can find the Big Dipper pretty high on the sky, draw a line from Merak and Dubhe down to Polaris, the North Star. That's on the end of the Little Dipper's handle. And those 2 patterns are visible all night long, any night of the year, for us here in the Northern Hemisphere. Find those 2 in the early evening and keep an eye. If you watch all night long, those 2 patterns will appear to spin around the North Star, and you'll find them at different places on that northern sky. Between the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper, there's a little curve of stars. Not very bright stars. This is Draco, the dragon, a lozenge of stars for its head, a long curly tail right in between the Big and Little Dippers. If you have a really nice dark sky, you can find Draco. Notice those very tiny dots. That means the stars are not very bright. And there are 2 stars on the end of the lozenge, the eyes of the dragon. Rastaban and Eltanin are the name of those 2. So we've learned 2 stars on the Big Dipper, Merak and Dubhe. Now we have 2 stars on the dragon, Rastaban and Eltanin. Here we are back again, same place, 10 o'clock at night, June 8th, or pretty much any time this month. Big Dipper, Little Dipper with Polaris, Draco curling in between with Rastaban and Eltanin. And there's a really bright star, Vega. It's near that part of the sky. Zoom in a bit. There's Vega. At an hour or so after 10 o'clock, you'll be able to see these 3 bright stars that make the summer triangle. Vega's the brightest and the first to rise. And Eltanin and the eyes of the dragon are right close by. If you can find Vega, you can find Rastaban and Eltanin. June 10th, Wednesday. The moon is at new phase and we have a solar eclipse. It's an annular eclipse. The moon's orbit is not a perfect circle. Sometimes the moon is farther along the ellipse than it is farther from the Earth. And this is one of those years. So as the moon looks like it's farther, looks like it's smaller on the sky, it doesn't cover the whole disk of the sun. It leaves a rim of light around the edge. Unfortunately, it's not visible from Atlanta. Again, the next time we get a solar eclipse in Atlanta will be April 8th, 2024. This is an example of an annular solar eclipse from 2005, one of our colleagues in Spain. Nice image. But unfortunately, where we live, we're not going to see it. Here's Georgia, way over here. We're looking down on the North Pole of the Earth. Here's the path of the eclipse, and we're not going to be able to see it at all. But in the evening, keep an eye out for the rest of the week. As the moon moves along its orbit, from new moon, it will be little thin crescents getting thicker and thicker each night toward the end of the week. On June 11th and 12th, it'll be right near that bright planet Venus. This is a little bit distorted. Venus is not going to look like a big blob on the sky. It'll be a very bright star-looking object. And the tiny crescent moon will be right nearby toward the end of this week. Thank you for listening. Great to have you along. Please do check out Fernbank Science Center's website, www.fernbank.edu. Keep an eye on our Facebook page for the virtual Friday evening planetarium lessons and Saturday science. Thanks again for listening. Have a great week.